Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the alumni panel this afternoon at the ECE Expo. Thank you so much for joining us today at this event. We have an amazing career panel for you, filled with some incredible Sheridan alumni from the ECE and BCL programs. My name is Sandra Yu. I'm the Employment Development Specialist with Career Services at Sheridan, and I'm joined by Alicia Seguir from Sheridan Alumni, but she's got some audio issues, but she is here with us. There she is, and yeah, we're so pleased to be hosting this panel in partnership with the Alumni Relations team and the Faculty of Applied Health and Community Studies. We do miss seeing all of you in person, but this is a great way for us to connect, and hopefully through this panel you'll be inspired and informed and feel a little closer to all of your colleagues from the program. So for those of you who are graduating, so Alicia did give me some notes to read, so I'm going to read them here. For those of you who are graduating soon or have already graduated, Sheridan's Alumni Office is here to support you. Don't hesitate to reach out to us, to Alicia and the Alumni Office, anytime. Same thing with the Career Services Office. Even if you graduate, we're here for you. You can access career supports anytime. We love hearing from our grads. Share your ideas for events, ask questions, and of course, we always love it when our grads share their great news stories with us. Okay, so throughout the panel, we encourage you to use the chat. So in the event chat, just type in any questions or comments you have for our panelists. And so that's the right side of your screen. And then we will be moderating the chat and relaying any questions or comments to the panelists. Okay, so let's get started. So the first question is for all of you. Please take a couple of minutes to introduce yourself and briefly tell us about your role and your key responsibilities. So maybe we'll start from the left side of my screen. Amanda, you're first.
So thank you everybody for having me here today. My name is Amanda Samuel. I'm a registered early childhood educator and an Ontario certified English language teacher. So at this moment, I am in the process of completing my master's degree online at the University of Ottawa.
Nice.
I also advocate part-time for children and families through collaborating with fellow educators within the field. At the moment, we are working on launching GTA Daily Talk in May 2021. And currently, my full-time job does entail educating the community on the use of cannabis. And before that, I was working full-time as an elementary teacher at a private school, teaching grade 4 homeroom. And some key responsibilities while I was working there included things like, oh, sorry, what just happened to my screen? Sorry, can you guys still see me, hear me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, so I was saying some of the things included, so teaching in class and online at the same time, and delivering lesson plans according to the curriculum guidelines, teaching various subjects, so things like social studies, English, math, stuff like that, relating to the grade 4 Ontario curriculum and the IB curriculum. I did monitor and report on students' progress constantly and communicating between the parents and the students' progress. So, and even things like collaborating within the field, program planning, professional development, all those things are also important when teaching elementary. Yeah.
Nice.
Thank you.
Okay, so Anansa, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. Thank you guys. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Anansa. The spelling is off. The I is very silent, so Anansa. I did graduate at Sheridan in 2018, and I am currently a supervisor at the Territory Treatment Center. I live in Yellowknife. You heard correctly. That is Yellowknife in the Northwest Territories. I've been working for that organization for about 3 years now. I kind of dabbled around Yellowknife, doing some part-time work, working at the Sobering Center, Women's Shelter. And then I did work at the government of the Northwest Territories. I was doing family preservation work. I can get like more in detail in regards to that area. And then I also am doing a little bit of advocacy work for Black individuals across the North. So we just started our organization. It's called Back Up North. That's the Black Advocacy Coalition Up North. I am the vice president for that organization. Our main role is to ensure that we're advocating for all individuals that are African Canadian, so that way we can have a connection there. And then our role is to kind of work alongside with the RCMP, with education system, so that way we can have more of an inclusive environment, really trying to advocate for Black individuals to see if they can get that, inclusivity in society, really. But that's what I do so far. Yeah, that's basically it.
Thank you. And Charlene?
Yes, my name is Charlene Avis. I graduated, I was in the same class as Ananza, so it's really nice to see her face again.
Yeah.
After I graduated school, I went to Ryerson to get my master's in child and youth care. So I'm on my way to being registered as a child and youth care practitioner. I'm still currently registered as an early childhood educator. Right now, though, I actually work for the Ministry of Child, Community, and Social Services. I work at a youth center, a security youth center. So it's very different from ECE, but the things that I've learned are still applicable to working with youth who are in the juvenile system. Yeah. So what I do is I help provide services and programs to the youth who are incarcerated. And then I also help supervise them. I make sure that behavior management is in place, routines are being followed, that security and safety is number one priority in both myself, my team, and the youth that I interact with. I respond to emergencies that involve emotionally charged youth. I work a lot with youth who have varying mental health capacities. And I use a lot of what's called a relationship custody approach. So that just involves making meaningful moments with the youth every day to ensure that they feel a connection with someone so that they can help. I can help them kind of ease them down when they're feeling kind of red brain really high. Yeah, and I do work. The youth that I work with are around 12 to 17 years old. I got to that position just by chance, but currently I'm really loving it. So yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing.
Great, thank you. So the next question is sort of related to the first question. Can you tell us a little bit about your career journey and how your career path got you from graduation and to where you are now? And so were there any pivotal or unexpected moments that set your career in motion? So maybe we'll actually start with Charlene first, since we ended with you.
Mm-hmm. So for me, when I graduated, I honestly went to get my master's because I didn't want to be in the workforce yet. And I knew I wanted to work with older youth. So I was just, after I graduated, I was just kind of searching everywhere on Indeed, on all of those online job hunting apps. I also did a lot of networking when I was in my placement. So that's where I found out about the place where I work right now. And I kind of just, I didn't even think I was qualified, but I applied anyway. And I think that's something that a lot of people taught me about when I was networking. Like, even if you don't think you're qualified, you should just do it. It happened very much in happenstance. I didn't leave school thinking I was going to be a youth services officer. But it's something that I'm really enjoying. And the division that I'm in, there's a lot of growth. So it's very much me kind of not restraining myself to one position or to one organization or to one job title, and really looking at, okay, I have all of these skills and assets. Who would benefit from me? I had to really think egotistically, but it works because everyone has something to contribute. So yeah, that's kind of how my journey went. Very happenstance.
Okay, thank you. I loved that what you just said about happenstance and about thinking about what how you can, who can benefit from what you've got to offer. Anansa, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Charlene, you're 100% correct. I actually wrote that in my notes. Like, even if you don't think you qualify, always apply. Because you just never know what opportunity is going to come your way. If it's meant for you, it's meant for you. So go for it. Yeah, so I began my journey right after I was done. I didn't even walk across the stage. Charlene knows I left as soon as I got the position. It was my connection. I knew a friend from high school, and she expressed that there was an opening for the position. So I applied, didn't really think I was going to get it. I did. It was a great opportunity, so I decided to move to Yellowknife. And it's pretty similar to what Charlene is doing. So I do work with at-risk youth between the ages of 7 to like 13. And we're dealing with a lot of like mental health crisis, aggressive behaviors. So the main role is to try to reconnect that youth back into their household, wherever that may be, whether that is foster care or they reunite with their family members. Sometimes if a youth is not successful, then they unfortunately have to go to another treatment center. We call that down south, which is Edmonton. That's how far north I am. So Edmonton is our down south. And then from there, our main job is really just reunification at this point. I do work with most of my clients, they are Indigenous. And most of the individuals that I have worked with are Indigenous clients, whether that is from adults to kids. The pivotal moment, I would say, is definitely going out there and seeking opportunities. That is the one thing that I think really propelled me forward, especially when I left the company for a little bit after a year and a half. I really wasn't looking for another full-time position. I was just looking for something on the side. So I went to the government of the Northwest Territories looking for a casual position. So casual, you get called in, seeing if you can take the shift, and you decide. When I walked in, I got an interview for a case aide position. But the supervisor actually said that I was qualified for the family preservation position. So I jumped on that. I was really, really excited. The main thing that I noticed, though, it was a very intense role because I'm working for Child and Family Services. So you're seeing, apprehensions. You're seeing, families really trying to gain back their children. The system is a very difficult process, especially up north, because there's not many social workers here. There's not a lot of people that can really support in that area. So having the lack of social workers, the lack of family preservation workers, it really does affect the community. And there's no treatment center in the north. There's a lot of addictions. So that is why you're seeing a lot of these kids in the north really getting affected by their environment. But I can go on and on and on, but I do want to pass it on because it's really tough thing to have to go through. But yeah, that is my main pivotal moment.
Thank you, Anansa. Amanda, would you like to tell us a little bit about your career story?
Sure, thank you. So definitely for me, I would say upon graduation, I graduated in 2019. And during that time, I will say, because for me, early childhood education was a second career move but prior to that, I was basically thriving in retail. But the problem was during that time, a lot of places were closing down. And I was just like, you know what, I have all these skills and stuff. I want to do something a little bit more worthwhile. Like, you know, a lot of people say like, oh, my purpose in life is to do this, to do this. And I feel like my desire is to help others and see change and positive change, right? But there's only so much you could do in retail. So then I thought early childhood education, an amazing opportunity to like learn. But I feel like you don't just learn about others, you learn about yourself too, right? And that alone helps you create that connection that I think like we're all lucky to have, because I feel like this program has really gotten us there to grow as not just people in the field, but as individuals within the world, right? And for me, I will say that I did go to the Career Center. I spoke to the counselors there. I also used my professors as resources. Carrie Drake, Catherine Becker, Monica Lysak, Angie Rosati, like those professors really, really stood out. Yeah,
Yeah.
because they have taken the time to actually listen to what I wanted. Because for me, I just felt like I was at an age where I just like, I don't want to waste any more time. I just want to like do what I want to do now, right? And just thrive. So they really provided like guidance and advice that I really took to heart. And based on all of that, I knew, first of all, I wanted to travel, but I also knew I wanted to teach and do something worthwhile. So that's how I got my TESOL diploma. As upon graduation, like I went right into it, obtained it, and then I landed my job in South Korea. So I was working there as a kindergarten teacher and an assistant program director. So amazing experience. COVID happened, so I had to come back. So, but I will say that I didn't stop there for sure. After that, I knew that, okay, you know what, I really enjoy teaching. And now that I'm back in Ontario, what more can I do? So then I decided to go and back literally to those same professors and ask them for some advice. And then I started doing instruction. So I was teaching the early childhood assistant program at some colleges. And then from there, I really grew like an appreciation for advocacy, because I was able to see that, okay, you know what? I know that there are certain things to me that stand out that I feel that everybody should be aware of, not just educators, but families and children too. I do feel that there's a lot of things that are going on in our educational system that we don't talk about. Honestly, I could go on about it forever, so I won't. But apart from that, I will say that, you know, when placement stopped because COVID got really serious, so then I do feel that depending on if you're still trying to find your spot within the field, honestly, as long as you have that desire to help others, you will always have opportunities and possibilities. Because after that, I was like, okay, you know what? I really enjoyed teaching in South Korea. I enjoyed being a kindergarten teacher, so I'm just going to go back to that. And when I applied to be a kindergarten teacher at a private school, I was actually given the position of a grade 4 teacher. And they said, you know what, I think your skills and assets would fit this position perfectly. And I said, well, to be honest, I don't have training as an OCT. I have training as an ECE, and I know my capabilities, and I feel like this is where I would be amazing at, right? So unfortunately, that didn't work out. I was given grade 4 and I took it, and I forced myself to go through it. And that was when I experienced burnout. I will say that if you are looking to get into, for sure, teaching as an OCT, 100% do not do it as an ECE, because there are certain kinds of training and skills that OCTs get, because it's mostly academic, right? Because everything else, class management, we're able to handle. Things like communicating with parents, we're able to handle. But the academic part, because for me, I could barely, I'm not going to lie, I can barely do grade 3 math, let alone grade 5 math, right? Because we were teaching at a level up. And that alone, I was like, oh dear, what am I going to do? So I will say things that helped me is that I remained honest. I told the students, you know, I'm not great at math, so hopefully you guys can help me out. And we worked together. I think that's like one of the most like, I would say like cherished memories that I do have working as a teacher, is that when you are willing to be honest and when you are not afraid to say things like, I'm not good at this, but, I'm willing to grow and to learn to be better. I think that helps your students alone want to push to be better people and to push to obtain the skills that they feel that they might need, or even skills that they don't even know they need right away. Because when they put trust in you, they're not trusting you to show up to work every day. They're trusting you to, make sure that when they leave school that they left happily, because there were days, and especially during this time teaching in class and online, it is definitely tricky, but you can make it fun. So I think it depends on your outlook on stuff. And for me personally, I did burn out because it was intense. And like I said, I feel like if you know where your skills are, don't let someone tell you like this is what you can do if you know that what you can actually do, if that makes sense. But yeah, so during my mini break from that, that's when I collaborated and did like some networking. And I actually collaborated with people that I did go to Sheridan with. And I'm so grateful because now next month we're going to be launching GTA Daily Talks. And basically it's just about things that is happening in the educational system, because they worked at many schools. I've also worked at childcare centers. I've done supply. I've done full-time work, because I have been in the field for about 5 years, but I didn't actually because I started off with my diploma, then I got my degree, now I'm getting my master's. So it has been a slow process, but definitely worthwhile. And yeah, so that's what we're looking forward to, just having those conversations that are not happening in school, because, things that you might not expect does happen. For example, at school, we only talk about bullying maybe once a year. But bullying should be spoken about every single week, every single day. It should be part of like a subject, because these students, they deal with things like bullying. They deal with, a lot of things that you might not even see unless they tell you. And I think that we are not doing enough. And it's really unfortunate because parents are unaware of it. There's only so much research out there. Honestly, I think I'll stop now because I can go on forever. Sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
It sounds like the three of you are doing some amazing advocacy work. Just amazing. Can you? So this question is up to all of you. What specifically would you say is the most enjoyable aspect of the work that you do? Maybe we'll start with Anansa first.
Yeah. Working with the kids. That is by far the most enjoyable part of my whole entire career. When I did leave to go to the government, I went back because I missed being around them. My job is really, it's basically like you're like a parent to these kids. Unfortunately, a lot of my kids, their parents are dealing with addictions and substance abuse. And they are subjected to that, and they have a lot of trauma. So from there, that's why they're exhibiting these high risk behaviors. Some of them come into this program and they're suicidal. Some of them come into the program and they have aggressive behaviors where they're kicked out of school and whatnot. So mind you, these kids are from 6 to 13. So this is like, and I preach, early childhood is the most important part of a child's life. And if we get these kids and we're trying to teach them how to utilize positive coping mechanisms, that is going to be beneficial to them in their success in the future. So whenever they have certain situations where they're extremely escalated, our role is to provide those teachings on how could you have mitigate that situation a little bit better. What are some of the things that you could have done better to resolve your conflicts? We provide a lot of reality therapy, having those real talks. So if someone is yelling and screaming at another individual because they're mad at them, we're giving teaching moments to say, you know what, we got to be mindful of tone of voice. We have to be mindful. How would you feel if this happened to another person? Really trying to have them think outside of the box. So I really, really enjoy that aspect. And it kind of like dabbles into counseling. We're not counselors, but we are the people that they feel comfortable coming to. And we have to ensure that we're providing them the necessary skills that they need to utilize when they unfortunately do depart from, well, unfortunately, because I care for them, but when they do depart from our care.
And just staying on with an answer for now, what would you say is the most challenging aspect of the work that you do?
The most challenging is sometimes knowing that these kids work so hard on their goals. So every 3 months, they have goals that they have to work on. And we generate these goals by utilizing the child and adolescent functional assessment scale. And this is the goals that they have to work on in order to return back to wherever, they're going to be going. Like I said, foster care or back home. The most heartbreaking part of it is seeing that these kids are working so hard to achieve that and go back home. And then sometimes they don't have that family support that they desperately need. So, we have kids that are permanent custody, which means that social services is their guardian. There's no family contact. So unfortunately, they're either going to be in a foster home, or if they don't achieve their goals, they go down to another treatment center. Mind you, there's only one treatment center for kids for my age group in the North, and I'm working there. There is another one that is from 13 to 17, but that one is not really even that great because there's not a lot of structure needed in place. And then after that, there's no adult treatment center in the North. So if you're having an adult that's dealing with substance abuse, suicidal ideations, they unfortunately have to leave their community to go down south. That is the heartbreaking part, seeing that that you need these resources, but it's not available within the North. And these kids work so hard to get back into their environment, and their environment it hasn't changed. So you can, let's say, fix something and you put it back in, well, not even to fix it, but you fix something, you put it back into the same environment, it's still going to end up getting broken, right? It doesn't make it any better. The system is really, 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 I'm looking for a positive word. The system is broken. That's the best way I can put it. Between social services, between, the whole government knowing that all these people need treatment centers, and they don't utilize that money to do that and put those resources in the community, it just becomes a slap in the face, really, to the people that really are trying their hardest to support in the best way they can. An example I will give you, they opened up a sobering center. So I work there. The sobering center is for individuals that are struggling with addiction. That sobering center, mind you, doesn't have any programs at all to support individuals that are dealing with trauma. So it's just a place to have people sleep off when they're extremely intoxicated. The problem with the sobering center that made me really upset, and which is why I left, they placed a sobering center right beside the liquor store. That doesn't make any sense. So I understand what they're trying to do, but at the same time, you're just encouraging people to say, hey, it's okay for me to go and drink. So I'm now going to come and have a place to sleep when I'm drunk, and there's no programs whatsoever. So it's a whole complicated situation, but that is what I mean by the government not placing necessary resources in the right areas. That is the most challenging.
Thank you. Charlene, would you like to tell us what you find most enjoyable about your work, and then also what you find most challenging?
Sure. Selfishly, what I find the most enjoyable is learning about myself. So I work for lack of a better word, I work in a youth jail. So I'm working with youth who have been convicted or awaiting trial for really, really serious crimes. If you know me in real life, I'm very uppity, like, woo, let's go, let's do this. I'm very much outgoing or extroverted. That's how I present myself. And I find that when I'm there, I am like that. But because it's in an environment where these youth have gone through so much in their life, I'm finding out about how being myself or choosing parts of myself to show can really help and amplify strengths and skills in these youth that I'm working with. Also, selfishly, it's a really good entry into a career with the government of Canada, within the Ministry of Child and Youth Care Services. And I also enjoy working with a really strong team. I've worked in a lot of childcare centers where just everywhere around me, everyone was burnt out, and we all can kind of really resonate with that because it is a field where you're underappreciated, both like personally and, if I'm gonna be frank, financially. Um, and it's hard when you're working around, when you're in an environment and you feel like it's kind of down. But the team that I get to work with every day really makes going to work not feel like a drag. And that's the part that I enjoy. I also really enjoy being with the youth. Like when they're on their good days, they're great. We're playing speed, we're playing present, we're playing Connect 4. We're talking about real life. They're telling me about their stories. I get to better understand that my bubble doesn't matter. It's it's like my whole perspective on things have changed. So selfishly, the job that I'm in right now as a youth services officer is really benefiting me personally. One of the most challenging things is when youth have really, really bad days.
Oh, yeah.
Emotionally, physically, they're having a really bad health day, like mental health day. It's just, it changes the tone within the unit. And it really creates, you really can cut the tension with a knife. So the challenge is also within myself. How am I going to navigate myself through this situation? How am I going to get home safe and sound? I've seen staff get assaulted. I've seen youth get assaulted. It's really hard. No one prepares you for that. I can watch umpteen documentaries on it. I can go to different conferences about it. I can participate in workshops. No one prepares you for that. So the challenging part for me is really trying to figure out where my place is, where I can be most beneficial, and reminding myself that I'm not perfect and that when I make mistakes, it's a part of human nature. But it sucks because I'm very much like, man, I know I can do better. I'm really hard on myself. I'm really, really hard on myself. So personally, that's also the most challenging. I'm learning too much about myself at this point. So, yeah.
I think that's a good thing, though. I think we can all benefit from that.
For sure.
Amanda, would you like to tell us about what you most enjoy about your work and what you find most challenging?
Awesome. So for me, I would have to say the kids. The most enjoyable part is definitely working with those kids. Just celebrating those like special moments too, regardless how big or small it is. It could be something like, somebody was trying to get their bees in the right direction. And then finally, when they do that, we're just like, yay, oh my God, finally, woohoo. And then like, I don't know, I just feel like when you celebrate those small things, like it makes them feel more confident, and they have self-worth. Because I will say right now, because I was teaching 9-year-olds, okay, they're worried about things like what kind of makeup they need, calories, they're counting their calories, guys. Oh my gosh, you have no, like, it just breaks my heart to see like the things that they are worrying about at 9 years old. I didn't even think about till I was like a teenager, like 16 or something. the things they worry about, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know what society has done. And the thing is, like, they go to school, and that's like their second home, right? So for me, it kind of leads to like the challenging part. It's just that I think that we're all a group of people where sorry, I think we're just like a group of people where we do care a lot. And I have done some research and stuff, and it does say, like, it can be a burden. And the thing is, like, if you care too much, that can be a problem. So for me, I care a lot, right? And because I care so much about whoever I work with, the thing is, like, if I know that a child, for example, is dealing with, okay, so I'll give like a specific example. So one student in my class was dealing with bullying issues they dealt with last year from a girl in another class. Anyways, anytime that person would like pass by, she would start to get anxiety, right? And the thing is, because we only had 2 classes within grade 4, so we tried to do stuff together, right? And I had to be mindful over the fact that this girl gets anxiety every time this person shows up. Like, what are we gonna do? And the thing is, these are things that I will say a lot of teachers don't consider, because a lot of times we are told it doesn't matter, just do it because that's your job. You need to do it, right? You need to do what makes the parents happy. A lot of the times, like, teachers are being told like to do things to please the parents. And I think we have to be strong enough to say, well, okay, but I'm here working for the student, like, they're my boss. Like, that's what I tell the kids when I go to class. I'm like, hey boss, what's going on? What do I need to do today? Do I need to like sign up your homework or something like that? The thing is, like, you could have so much fun, but at the same time, like, we need to also be mindful of those things. I think that there's a lot of things that children face that are not being, those conversations are just not happening. And I think that they're going home, especially now that technology is even more like apparent in our lives. They're always on technology. You don't know what's going on behind the screen. Parents don't know what's going on behind the screens. The things that they are searching, the things they're being introduced to, even the movies they watch nowadays, the new movies that are coming out. There's a lot that happens in a classroom that is being discussed. And for me, I did not expect a lot of those things. I did not expect that I would have to sit down and talk to a child about counting their calories at 9 years old. I did not expect that I would have to sit down and discuss things like bisexuality, marriage, sex to a 9-year-old. And those are things that parents don't want to have those conversations with. And the thing is, if the teachers don't take the initiative to have those conversations, we end up building an environment where learning is not being done effectively. And I think that's kind of like the main stress about being the teacher. It's about having those conversations that we are not prepared for, we are not trained on. And apart from that, trying to find the time to complete those administrative tasks and those lesson plans, because I will say my teaching hours are basically teaching. Even my breaks, I am teaching, because the students that are falling behind, they don't have the resources. We don't have the people. Like, the government is not putting people in place to help those students. Everything falls on the teacher. And that's how burnout happens, right? Because you're trying to do so much and you're not getting paid enough. You don't have the resources. It becomes very exhausting. And I did say to the students, before I left my position, I'm like, the one thing I could tell you is do not become a teacher. Do something else, but don't be a teacher. Be an educator, be an early childhood educator, be a professor, be an instructor, but don't be an elementary teacher. Because the thing is, right now, the training that is required, I think, is the training we are not getting. And yeah, that's basically it. Sorry.
No, thank you. I appreciate everyone's honesty. I think the next question, though, is about for individuals who are listening in and thinking about doing the work that you're doing. And they want to be a teacher. They want to be, to take on the roles that you're all doing. What advice would you have for them? And I think the second part of that question, it's not just. You talked about burnout and stress on the job and so forth. So what advice do you have, not just for getting into the role, but also and finding those opportunities, but what advice do you have for preventing, like for self-care and for preventing things like burnout? Charlene, maybe we'll start with you.
Yeah, adaptability. You have to be really flexible with it. Just because you uh or don't limit yourself to just one thing. That's the one thing I noticed when I was job hunting. I was really focused kind of on one thing, but then that just made my bubble that much smaller. Um, and kind of really going for it. So I networked a lot, both when I was at my placement and after I finished school. I set up information meetings, and I got to talk to people from Sick Kids. I got to talk to people from the government of Ontario. I got a chance to reconnect with some professors, um, and I really. I really advocate for networking because it really gets your name out there. As little as you think it might, it really does. And it also allows you to kind of figure out what you are really passionate about. Um, and also, I got the job because I was like, I think I can do this. I'm not so sure. But now that I'm in it, I'm like, this is great. And I never would have given myself that chance had I just stuck to what I thought I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Um, so being adaptable and being kind to yourself, not getting jobs that you thought you would have been great at, or really not or thinking that an information meeting didn't go as well as you planned, um, not getting that interview that you really wanted, um, and like to stop comparing yourself to other people. I found that when I was doing that, I was just not in the right mindset because I wasn't giving myself the credit that was due for me. I experienced a lot of imposter syndrome, and I did a paper on it and it was ready to be published. And I was like, wait, I'm not even qualified. Who am I to publish about this? And I just finished writing a paper about imposter syndrome and I was still going through it, you know? And it's like, you just have to really kind of, that saying, fake it before you make it. It's really mistake it before you make it. Make the mistakes now and learn from it so that next time you can really be better at it. And like that's what the adaptability part of it comes to mind. If I wasn't willing to try on different shoes, then I wouldn't be able to learn this much about myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Amanda, would you like to go next?
Sure. So, I'll talk about like two things, I guess, because like I know a lot of people are very interested in working as teachers or as a kindergarten teacher. For that specifically, I would say that if you're going to be a kindergarten teacher, you're going to love it, because when I worked in Korea as a kindergarten teacher, when I was working here in Ontario with kindergartens, oh my God, I loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. It was a great balance, I think, for myself, because as an ECE, you are not doing the duties of an OCT, right? You just strictly do what you're supposed to do, right? You care for the well-being of the children, you communicate between parents, yes, you do provide lesson plans and stuff like that, but it's based on the holistic needs of the students, right? And you are able to do what you were trained to do. I would say if you do apply, because nowadays, because we do have a shortage of teachers, especially with what's going on with COVID. If you're interested as working as a grade 1 teacher and up, as an elementary teacher, because you can do that, I highly, highly suggest like managing your time wisely, like going in prepared, like mentally, because there are things that, again, like we weren't trained as an ECE, because I assume you get the training as an OCT, when it comes to building plans, like for academic purposes, like the subjects and stuff. Because the thing is, I feel, as a community, we tend to put the needs of a person first. And I'm talking about their emotional needs, right? Their physical needs. And we want to attain to that, not just with the children, but with their families. We want to find the resources to help them, right? But at the same time, from doing that, you also have to prepare those lessons, those subjects. So, for example, math, language, what's it called, social studies, science, all those things, like you need to be knowledgeable on as well. If you are teaching a subject, like I remember we were learning about putting fractions on a number line, and I was like, first of all, what is a number line? Second of all, what is a fraction again? So I have to teach myself these things too, right? And I do tell my students, okay, well, Miss Samuel needs to like do some learning before she could do some teaching. So how about we all get together and let's like talk about what we know. And that's the thing. If you can do learning together and teaching together, I think, you know, as an ECE, you will definitely succeed. I would definitely say understand what your weaknesses and strengths are. But for me, right now, I would say I am truly, truly happy because I'm still working in education, but in the cannabis sector now. So I am educating basically anybody that wants to introduce themselves to cannabis. Basically what we do is we provide the knowledge. So like, how does it affect your brain activity? What can you experience later on? Because like I said, thanks to Angie, I am like so involved and so obsessed with brain development now that I just want to learn everything about brain development. And I thought this was a great way to learn, you know, the effects of like different things, because it's not just about cannabis you're talking about. You're also talking about your state of mind, the current state that you're in before you deal with something. Like, is this something you really want to do? What are you using it for? You know, are you using, and anyways, you go into all these things. So yes, it's not working with children, but it's still educating the community. Because the thing is, like, a lot of times I would tell like my clients, I would say, make sure you treat yourself kindly, you know, and make sure that if this is something that you want to experience, like, it needs to be done in a healthy way. What are you using it for? Are you using it to escape something, or are you just using it to just, you know, take a little relaxation, take a little vacation? That's different. But if you're looking to, you know, use it as an escape, then that's when we have a bigger problem, and that's maybe something you want to like deal with first before you come here. So these are things that we work on. It's not just like, you know, people come in and they're just like, hey, I want to buy something. It's completely different. And well, at least with the organization that I'm working with, it's completely different. So yeah, so there's lots of different things. And I think like with everybody else speaking too, there's so many opportunities out there. It's just matter of what do you enjoy, you know, where are your skills at, and where do you fit best? Because I'm telling you, you think you're going to fit somewhere best, and then a year from now, you're going to be like, oh my God, like this is more exciting. So never be afraid to take opportunities or to like definitely try something new, because like Charlene spoke about like networking, I will say it made such a big difference for me too, because the people that I've met, it doesn't have to be a relationship where it's like you stay in constant communication. It could just be like an experience alone. That's all you need. And that experience alone can take you somewhere else, because that's how I got the job in Korea. That's literally how I got to instruction. And now I'm here working, in the field of cannabis. And there's so many different routes you can take for sure.
Awesome, thank you. Nansa, would you like to share some of your advice for people who want to get into the work that you do, or just how to ensure that you stay well when working?
Yeah, definitely. I want to touch base on what Charlene said about adaptability. You definitely want to be able to be flexible and try new things. But I feel that I had the opposite effect, Charlene. I'm not going to lie. Like, for me, I dipped into too many things. So I got burnt out because I was doing, I'm a supervisor. And on top of that, I'm a vice president for a whole new organization, having meetings with, you know, different people across North. And then on top of that, I'm like having guilt because I'm like, man, I need to go to the gym. Oh, snap. I need to make sure that I clean my house. You know, I'm planning a wedding. When you have so many things on your plate, it becomes overwhelming. You need to find the balance between that adaptability. So if you're the kind of person like me, you definitely need to schedule appropriately. And it is okay to have a day where you don't do anything. Bruno Mars said it perfectly. Today, I don't feel like doing anything. I'm going to lay in my bed. Just embrace that moment, because you're always going to have work pile up on you. No matter if there's moments I stay at work 10 hours, and I'm supposed to be leaving at 3. I don't leave until like 8 o'clock. And I'm thinking, I have to finish this. I have to finish this. It is okay if you don't. There is another day. So really, if you really don't want to get burnt out, self-care, whatever that self-care looks like, if that is you binge watching a Netflix show, if that's you going for a walk, you want to get your nails done, whatever you need to do, you need to make sure that you're ensuring this happens, because if you do not, you will burn out. Okay. And then the saying that they have, it's like, find a job that you love and you will never work a day in your life. I'm sorry, that's not true.
Not true. No, for sure.
It's not true. It really comes down to whether or not like you will enjoy what you're doing, but it's what area do you want to put the most amount of work into? Because everything that you do is going to require you to put in some work, even if you love that particular job. So no matter what it is in life, you're gonna have to work, but make sure that you self-care.
Thank you. Yeah, and it certainly sounds like all three of you sound like people who really care about the work that you do. You take it seriously, and you take pride in the work and wanting to have an impact on the youth the children and the youth that you're working with. So that inevitably will have some kind of an impact on yourself, right? So whether you bring home some of their problems, or just from a mental, emotional point of view, you're bound to take on some of that, right? So yes, I like that message about self-care, and I think it's valuable for everyone to keep in mind. My next question is for Amanda. So you talked about networking. So can you tell us a little bit more about how networking has impacted on your career journey, and what recommendations do you have for students who want to network? What do you have to tell them from your own experience?
I would definitely say, kind of like what I said at the beginning, my first stop was the Career Center, because they definitely provided so much advice that I felt I wouldn't have gotten anywhere else. And because, like, the Sheridan community, I felt like, because prior to coming to Sheridan, I was at U of T. Not gonna lie, did not enjoy it as much as I wanted to. And that kind of pushed me to take a break from education completely, from learning, because I was so, like, I don't know what the word is. I just wasn't happy with myself. It had nothing to do with the school. It's just that I just didn't feel smart enough, because I've been told that so many times that, are you sure you want to go to university, stuff like that. And because of that, I didn't have the motivation. And I will say that I kind of took that with me into Sheridan, right? And because of those professors and because of the Career Center, like, we never talked about things like how smart you are, or what can you do, or what you can't do. We talked about things like, what do you enjoy? What do you like? Like they choose to get to know you as a person. And I think that's the first stop you need to make, for sure, the Career Center. Because like I said, for me, it made such a huge difference in my confidence and as the person that I am. Because I would say without them, and I still try to keep in touch, like, here and there, if I need advice with the professors, because they provide things like, even if you want to do like an additional amount of reading, like for me, example, like brain development, love it, right? So the one person I think of is Angie, right? Because she has like so much knowledge on that. And after that, the next thing I would say, is LinkedIn. I would go and reach out on LinkedIn and say, hi, I noticed that on your profile you did this, and this is what I'm interested in. Do you have any like advice that you would like to share? Just keep it very simple, because the thing is, not everybody's going to get back to you, but the people that do shows that they're like a little bit more rare. They're a little bit more special, because they care a little bit more, right? And they want to see a change, and that's how you connect right away, because the person that responds to you are more likely the people that are facing similar situations as you are, right? And it's something from your message that stands out. It's just the fact that you are asking them nicely, you know, when you have the time, would you mind sharing some advice? Or if you have the time, do you mind da 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 da, right? And the thing is, we only have time when we make the time, right? It's not something that we choose to do. It's something that you want to do, right? Because it's not something that we feel like, oh, it's the right thing to do this. No, you do it because you care enough to do it. And like I said, never be afraid to just go out there, send that message. Anytime like I meet with someone, I will say, for example, when I was in Korea, we did do like, because I was a foreigner there. So for me speaking to other foreigners, it was like a big deal because obviously they want more foreign teachers to come in, right? So I would share my experience with them. But at the same time, I do encourage them to also network, because the thing is, it doesn't matter where the person lives, you can get an opportunity from anywhere. And I will say, not just LinkedIn, even Instagram. I have like one of the things like I like to focus on is photography, because it's kind of like an escape from everything else that I'm doing. So I do a lot of street photography. And the thing is, I would even network with other photographers and say things like, oh, you know, I noticed like the lenses that you use, da 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 da. Like, the thing is, if you're willing to start a conversation, that's literally all you have to do to network. Because I will say, I'm not going to say I have a big following. No, 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 no. I am like under 100 people following because I like to keep my network not big. I like to keep it strong. And what I mean by that is that even though I have a low number of followers, those are people that I interact with constantly, right? So I would say that don't focus on numbers, because a lot of people think like the more people you network with is like the more special I am, or the more like out there I am. But that is not true. It's the quality of your interactions.
Yep.
So that's the one thing I would definitely say. Yeah. And it could be from any aspect. It could be from education to your hobbies, whatever. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm realizing we have 2 minutes left, so I don't know if Charlene or Anantha, you have any comments about networking. If not, we'll move on to our final question.
No, we'll move on.
Okay. So if you could, I guess we could leave with the final question for all of you. You could leave students with one final nugget of advice concerning their careers. What would it be? Anantha, do you want to
Try your
start?
best, guys.
Yeah. You have to be patient. You have to be patient because things take time, no matter what field you're actually in. Go out there and always apply, even if you don't think that you are qualified. Be patient and ensure that you take the time to know people. And like Amanda was saying, like, it's really about quality. It doesn't really matter about, how many people you do know. Like, even if you have that one friend that you knew from high school, get in contact with them. But the field that you are in is going to require a lot of patience, even when you start working with kids or adults, whoever, you're going to need to practice that. Patience with yourself, patience with other people. That is the advice I would give everyone.
Great, thank you. Charlene?
Yeah. Work hard. Just keep applying. Keep applying. I know it's annoying to like really tailor your cover letters and your resumes. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort, but work hard. Keep doing it, but also be kind to yourself. Know your limit. Don't forego everything because you just pushed yourself too hard. Know yourself enough to pause before you get to that point.
Yeah.
Work hard and be kind to yourself. That's what I keep telling myself every day, and it's helped me so far. And just like, don't compare yourself to anyone else. Like, really don't, because if you do, you're just gonna go down a tunnel of like the rabbit hole will just keep falling, and you'll end up on the other side of the world wondering how you got there. So just be kind to yourself, work hard, and just kind of relish in the moment that's happening right now. Like, you guys are almost graduating. It's so exciting. Just be happy with where you are now because you guys did it, right? So just and believe in yourself. Oh my God. You really someone has to tell you. If it's not you, it's someone else. You guys really have to believe in yourselves. There's like 201 of you guys. I believe in every one of you guys.
Aw.
Thank you. Amanda, would you like to share your final words of advice and wisdom?
Honestly, the only thing I would add is just do your research. Don't let employers pick you. Please pick your employers, okay?
Yes.
Do the research. And the one thing I would say is try to find people that work for those organizations and get some feedback. Say, this is the field that I'm looking into, diving into. And I really, really was interested in this position. What are your thoughts on the company? Don't talk about the position, just talk about the company itself. What are their goals, their mission? Because I will say everything sounds great in the interview. Okay? Everything sounds great at the beginning, but get that, because the thing is and we have to understand, not every, we sign contracts and stuff like that. So there are many things we're not allowed to say. Like a lot of stuff that I said here, I was just like, should I say it? Should I not say it? I don't know. Will I get in trouble? Because that's the situation we deal with, because teachers, oh my God, the contracts you're gonna sign, do not sign anything you're uncomfortable with. Okay. Anytime you see anything that involves money, do not sign it unless you talk to someone with knowledge. That's definitely the stuff I wish somebody told me. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
And try your best.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's great. Thank you so much, Amanda, Samuel, Anansa, Leslie, and Charlene Avis, for sharing, for being so honest and open, and for sharing your ideas and your advice and your insights and your experiences with all of us. I hope that those of you who joined us found it informative and inspirational. So yeah, thank you again, everyone, for joining us. Right now, the Alumni Mix and Mingle has begun. So I would encourage you, Amanda, Anansa, and Charlene, to join the Alumni Mix and Mingle. It's if you click on sessions on the left-hand side of your screen, you'll see the Alumni Mix and Mingle, and it's open to everyone. So alumni, current students, faculty, staff, anyone who wants to pop by and do some networking, as the three of them just talked about, or just to connect and chat, and that would be great. So join. That is happening right now until 2:00, and then there's also a number of presentations happening. So feel free to visit the employer booths in the Expo section. And yeah, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys. It was a pleasure.
Thank you guys so much.